Peggy 12.
After decades of research from the Earthcast's finest minds, we've never been this close. Our Empire's most ambitious military project, the Kor-Vesh Initiative, the promise of expanding our borders to new worlds, the confidence of enlightening distant civilizations with our philosophy. Let none doubt that the Tau Empire will bring unity to all. Let none doubt that now is our time.
I started reading into 40K recently, and I was wondering why are there no TV shows or any good movies about this franchise? And then I realized that it would make very good anti-progressive propaganda. You see, the best type of propaganda is not the one that's in your face. It is just, a little bit of an allegory here and there, a little bit of implications here and there that get people to think and start asking questions. And in 40K, there is a race called the Tau, and the Tau are masters of subversion. They seem to be like the good guys, they seem to be like the people you would want to ally yourself with. But underneath all the kindness and underneath all of the good intentions lies a very dark and sinister agenda. You see, the Tau in 40K are a race of aliens that have a very small empire compared to the empire of mankind, and they also have a philosophy called the greater good. Now, this philosophy of the greater good implies that everyone is born into a job, everyone is born into a caste, and they have to do that particular job or case for the rest of their life. There is very little forward thinking or very little wiggling room ideologically out of what the state, the greater good, assigns for you. So it is a very interesting religious faction. And as such, the main purpose of the Tau is to expand the greater good upon the entire universe. The main problem, however, is that in 40K, the Imperium of mankind is the dominant force in the galaxy. And most of the planets are already colonized by mankind. And mankind, they have, as you can imagine, infinite numbers at their disposal to throw at any type of threat that might be coming their way. In the 40K universe, mankind is warlike to the extreme, and just like the Tau, they also are religious fanatics. They believe into the Emperor of mankind. So, as you can imagine, when the Tau found a couple of planets inhabited by the Imperium, they thought it's going to be easy pickings. Unfortunately, the difference in philosophies and religious views met the Tau with hostility. Still, the Tau are very technologically advanced in this universe, and they managed to conquer the couple of planets with ease. Fortunately for them, the response that came from the Imperium was quite harsh, and the Taus immediately realized that they have awakened a sleeping giant. And it was lucky for them that the Imperium was actually preoccupied with a different threat at the time, which was the Tyranids, that they had to pull back. But the Tau definitely understood that further encroachment into human lands is going to be met with overwhelming force and the potential destruction of their empire. So how did the Tau manage to still try to push the ideology of the greater good? Well, they realized that while they can't outright use military force, what they can do is use subversion. And if they manage to target a couple of planets that are outside of humans' main interests, maybe an agricultural planet here or there, or a frontier outpost that the fascist Imperium large bureaucracy, I forgot it even exists, then all can be fine. So how do the Tau manage to convince a human planet to join their side? Because you have to understand, in the 40K millennium, humanity is xenophobic to the extreme. In the Imperium of mankind, there are actually groups of people that are targeted with evaluating life on planets. And if they happen to find that a life is a little bit more intelligent than they would like and is not human, then the entire eradication of that species is not only recommended but necessary. So, how can you convince people that despise aliens to the extreme to join the Tao Empire? Well, the way they realize that they have to do this is to first go towards the nobility. There's no point in convincing the peasantry or convincing the working class, the masses, of benefits of joining the Tao Empire if the nobility can simply send the police to crack on their asses. So at first they are going to go to the planet governor, to the guy in charge, and they're going to use intermediaries, or maybe they're going to make an appearance. Usually the nobility is a little bit more liberal and forward-thinking than everyone else, and they're going to try to sell them shit. Now, Tau technology is a lot better than that of the Imperium, so any type of shit that they want to sell is going to be greatly appreciated by the governor and very difficult to resist. Maybe they are going to sell them some medicine, or maybe a gun that is very effective, or something for entertainment or pleasure, or maybe a new type of food maker that they have. Suffice to say that these goods are very difficult to resist. Imagine going into Africa and selling the people their Apple phones into a village that they've never even heard of Apple phones and never even saw this type of technology. And you're selling them for a bargain price after all. Once they start buying things, well, you can just start selling more and more and more until the person is hooked on this technology. Now, after a while, they will come up and they will say, see, we would like to sell more, but there are rules and regulations on your planet, and, you know, it's a hassle for us to always try to smuggle these things in. It would be a lot better if we could maybe legalize this transaction. Usually the governor is going to go to the nobility, to some of the more influential people on that planet, and also present some of the goods that come from the Tao Empire that are indeed very difficult to resist. And with time, more people are going to see the light, and maybe they're going to pass some legislation that changes the definition of xenophobia. You know, it's just xenophobia is applied to all the things that we knew before, but maybe the Tao aren't really of the definition of xenophobia. For example, we still hate alien races, but alien races that kind of look like human and are blue, are they really that different from us? You know, or maybe races that we consider to be beneficial? And with that, the Tao gets a foothold into starting to sell the goods to the open market, to more and more people. And as time increases, the Tao are going to take this very slowly. They're not going to push the greater good on the first generation of people on the planet, no. Instead, they are going to try to wait a while and push their ideology on the next generation. You see, the Tao are very patient, and they have absolutely nothing against the first group of the working class dying out, so that they will focus on indoctrinating the children that will then indoctrinate their children, and so on and so forth. And the way they do this is, for example, targeting entertainment, targeting movies, perhaps anime if they can, provide the new kids with a lot of cool toys, and try to push their culture and their way of thinking, accept the greater good at this stage, onto the kids to make the aliens not seem so evil, not seem so filled with malice and ill intent. And instead try to get the kids to maybe not hate them as much as their parents did. And once this happens, they are going to try to suggest to the government leadership to maybe unionize all the trading houses, to maybe get them together in order to smooth things along, because it's kind of difficult to negotiate business with so many traders. If all the traders were socialized maybe under one single banner, then it would be a lot easier to sell even more goods than before, perhaps something even better, right? So with that said, now the trade union is being united, and the traders, of course, they love the Tao because they make a lot of money from selling this new and interesting technology that doesn't exist on human planets. And here is where the real subversion starts happening. You see, once people are more likely to be friendly towards the Tao will start starting an enclave on the planet, maybe an embassy, or maybe just a group of people that want to live amongst the members of the Imperium, a very peaceful, just a little neighborhood here and there. And with time, and sometimes organized, sometimes naturally, you will have a couple of xenophobic humans that are going to commit acts of violence upon the Tao. Maybe break the windows of the embassy, maybe do some actual violence towards the new colonists. And at this point, the Tao will go towards the government and they will say, look, this is unacceptable. We thought we were allies. You need to crack down on these evil elements. Perhaps have some hate speech laws. Don't allow them to say the things that they're saying, because we don't want more violence to happen. And usually the government, which is benefiting from the business of the Tao, they are going to, of course, say, yeah, no, absolutely. Xenophobia is now outlawed. You're not allowed to have disparaging things said towards the Tao. And this usually angers the population, which is going to commit more acts towards the Tao. Perhaps even a newspaper is going to say something disparaging that is not necessarily incitement to violence, but, talks about the fact that the Tao are subverting their nation. Clearly a conspiracy theory, to which the Tao is going to ask for even more concessions. A little bit here, a little bit there. Can you tighten this knot? Can you make this law a little bit more harsher? And eventually, they are going to manage to get a lot of legislation that punishes any type of wrong thing about Xenos. At first, we had a planet that was incredibly xenophobic, and now we have a planet that is a lot more forward-thinking, should we put it this way. And then it happens that you will have actual xenophobic people, either by natural or design by the Tao, to actually attack and probably slaughter a couple of Tao colonists. To which point the Tao will say, look, you need to give us control of your police force, or you need to allow us to bring a military regiment on your planet. Obviously, we didn't want it to come to this. Obviously, we didn't desire this, but we need to. We need to defend ourselves. We have a right to exist after all. And with that said, they managed to bring a couple of soldiers, and the next time there is another attack or there are intensifications on the hate speech that travels, they will bring even more people and more people. To the point where they actually might have enough technology to pose a serious threat to the local government. And at this point, most of the local government is in their pockets anyway, so when they actually ask for control of the local military or control of the local police, it is usually handed to them because let's get the blue aliens to stop whining. After all, the government is incompetent in preventing hate crimes towards the Tao, so it's better to just let the Tao in charge, because they're going to be a lot better in pushing this multicultural agenda upon the people. Now, when they finally manage to gain control of the military arm of the government, they will have their own colonies. And once this happens, their colonies are going to obviously look and be a lot better than that of the human colonies. And here is when the subversion goes up a notch. They will start to introduce terms. They will call the humans that are friendly towards the Tao, the humans that are not xenophobic, they're going to be called Guivesa. And the humans that are against the Tao and they don't have the correct mindset, they are going to be called the Guila. And at this point, they are also going to introduce the greater good ideology on the planet, because up until this point, the planet was allowed to exercise freedom of religion and have its own customs. Well, not so much anymore, right? You still get to choose. I mean, you don't have to live in one of these beautiful neighborhoods that the Tao have to offer. You can live in the slums with everyone else. It's a choice at the end of the day. Being racist is a choice. Being stuck in your old ways is a choice. And you will notice that certain legislation makes it more and more difficult to live outside of these Tau colonies. Perhaps the people living outside the Tau colonies get taxed a little bit more. Perhaps the police in these places don't get a lot of funding, so the crime level is off the roof. Perhaps some of the food there doesn't grow because they do not have access to Tau technology that they have been reliant on so long. And, the current one, the irrigation system starts to break down and there is no replacement for it. So living in places outside of the actual Tau enclaves is going to be very difficult and really not that appealing. Now, you're going to go to the next step of the subversion. There are going to be people from within the Tau colonies, the respectable Tau colonies, that are going to appear and they're going to offer jobs to the people in the slums. And they're going to say, if you want to come here, you're going to get a lot of money, and you only have to work for a couple of months. Now, when they come towards the Tau colonies, the people are going to be astonished by the overwhelming luxuries, progress in technology, all of the toys that people who live there get to have and experience, as well as the excellent food and the fact that they can get 3 meals a day. And by the time their work shift starts to expire, they will ask themselves, do I really want to go back? I mean, all I have to do, they just do the greater good shit, and I can live in one of these luxurious places. And with time, a lot of people start moving towards the enclaves, while the people that remain in slums, they're going to have a very, very difficult time with all the high crime rates and the more and more diminishing resources, as well as the taxes. And at this point, most people and common sense people are going to start to rebel. But considering that they don't have access to the military, considering that the Tau have better technology, there are obviously just going to be a couple of angry people that can be easily cracked down by the government police. And if they manage to put a bomb here and there as a little bit of radical elements, well, then lethal force can be used and the elements get quickly pacified. So now most of the people live in the good places, and the Tau starts to push the ideology that the Guila, they're a little bit better than animals, because they refuse to accept the greater good, because of the way that they have been offered the choice and refuse to take it. It's not only okay to stereotype and stigmatize and do violence towards them, it's actually a little bit encouraged, because what type of sentient creature refuses to accept the greater good? And at this point, the actual scary legislation starts to begin. You see, maybe the planet is a little bit overpopulated. Maybe there are a little bit problems with the environment, and just too many people, too many problems. Why not just have a law where you give people the right to breed? See, you want to have a child? Well, you better go to the government in order to give you a permit to have a child. Not everyone can have a child. And how can you get a child? Well, the more correct thinking you are, the more acceptant of the greater good you are, the more likely it is that you are going to get a permit to breed. Breeding outside of your caste is also frowned upon and soon is going to be made illegal. Now, the people who are in the slums, well, they're also going to be given an offer. Oh, you have a child. See, we could allow your child to live in the good neighborhood. We could allow your child to live the luxury life. Now, you as the parents, you're Gula, you refuse the compassion of the Tau and the ability to get the greater good, but your kid, we're not that evil to say that he should be responsible for the sins of their parents. You castrated. Yeah, you know what? You castrated so he can't breed because we don't want your tainted line to be passed forward. But we're going to allow him to stay if we sterilize him a little bit. You know, I mean, he can still have sex, maybe with other progenitors of the Guila, but no children. He can probably adopt, you know, a child from the Guivesa. Well, that is encouraged, but... And as such, with time, the subversion of a planet that was incredibly hostile towards the Tao, that was incredibly opposed to the greater good, is complete. And this is what actually good propaganda looks like, because certain people might draw certain parallels with certain events that might happen in the real world. And this is why if they will ever make an adaptation of 40K, it's not going to be like in the lore books. They don't want people to have a little bit of fun, you know, thinking too much and drawing parallels that leads you to Alex Jones. I'm not going to start making lore videos about 40K, alright? Just no. It's just something that I found utterly fascinating. There's a lot more that is being explained, especially like once you become a Guivesa, if you want to get up on the ranks. Like, first of all, you're going to have a job, and that job is going to be for the rest of your life, but, you know, just because you're a builder, maybe your son can be a foreman. You know, or maybe you can advance from a builder to a foreman. I mean, after all, giving people a couple of incentives here and there just makes them be better producers at whatever they do. So what they allow is the people who are very forward-thinking. I mean, all of them are Guivesa, obviously, but, you know, some of them are more Guivesa than others. And if you can prove that your colleague maybe said an offensive joke towards the Tao, maybe... is not such forward-thinking as people like to claim, well, then he can be passed for the promotion and you can get it instead. So it kind of incentivizes people to rat on each other. And this, my friends, is why I find the Tao to be one of the worst races in the Warhammer universe, because they seem like the good guys. They seem like they have your best intention at heart. They seem like they are friends, when in reality they are quite monsters with angelic faces.
The trap is set. Gravitic launcher battery. Fire! Railguns, fire! For the greater good!
Feel the wrath of the Imperial Navy!
Auxiliaries, now!
Demiurge Brotherhood responding. Open fire.